What's up, y'all? In this video, we have a state of the SFIC pen kits, plural. We are not filling all these up. I just have them out to kind of talk about SFIC in general. And yes, we have a few pen kits. There's four woodies, and then an old kit that I very rarely use. Then that's an A3, A4 kit, which I'll also you really only need that if you deal with the military, and it is very rarely used. Only oddball military jobs have those. But this is my main kit. It is an old lab manufacturing. These are all honestly, these are probably all made by Lab 2 at one point in time. They are the pen kit gods, but we have an old two Schlage woodies right here. Schlage A2, Falcon. It's all the same thing. It's only different when you come over here to the A3 and A4, and that's because it just has different measurements. Same exact keys, same exact everything, except the depths is different. So you have to have certain pins, and again, you probably won't be needing that much unless you deal with military jobs. And at that point, you already know everything you probably need to know about pen kits. So today we are filling this guy up. And the reason why I have these is, and I have them out, is because in case you run across a situation where you buy some stuff, say from a closed down locksmith company, and you get these guys and you're like, well, I don't ever mess with Falcon, but I do best. Or I don't ever do Schlage's small format. We don't see that a lot in our area, and that's usually the reason. You may just not have that in your area, but it's all the same thing. So you can actually get these kits cleaned up most of the time they're gonna come in looking all horrible with pins in different chambers and like plenty of pins up here. The reason you have plenty of pins in certain areas is because a lot of them aren't used a whole lot in the SFIC world. And we're talking like number 789 bottom pins. You can see here, 789. Flip the camera around, 789. Where are they over here? 789 full. That is because in the IC world, you don't really often how they get pinned up. You're not going to often have a 789 bottom pin. Then I don't know how to explain that, but without going into a whole lot of SFIC jabber and talk that really doesn't pertain to just filling up pin kits, maybe one day in the future. But anyway, long story short is you're very rarely going to have a 789 bottom pin just because how they're keyed up. Of course, SFIC is keyed a certain way. You have, do I even have a cylinder out here? You got cylinders. If you know nothing about SFIC and you're for some reason watching this video, yeah, it's like this. This is a 6-pin, I don't know what keyway that is, maybe F or G or something. That's not G, but maybe, I don't know. So anyway, to repin this, it doesn't come apart like a traditional cylinder. You might be thinking, oh, do I have to grind it? No, you don't grind those off. You shove a poker tool through here, and you have like multi-poker tools like this, or an individual poker tool like that, or you may even have a press of some kind that you have in there. So you jam it through the bottom and bust out the top, basically. Hey, we'll make use of this thing since I really don't like it, and I did a video on it up here, but we will use it for this. So springs and stuff should come out that hole right there. Just like that. So to key this up, you have to just drop pins in there by the numbering. So you don't have as much flexibility as you do when you're pinning up a regular cylinder, where you can literally see if the pin's too high or not. Once you drop it in there, you won't be able to tell if it's going to work or not until you cap it and or at least cover it up to make it actually work. So yeah, there's definitely not enough pins in there. What's going on over here? Some shit's going down that way. So anyway, that is the premise of SFIC pinning. Once you drop, you have your chart out your numbers and all that, and you start off and you're like, I'm gonna do a 6 bottom pin. All right. Once you drop it in there, you have no idea whether it's actually too high for the chamber. Now, some people will actually grind these apart and make a thing to be able to check keys. You can do that. In fact, there's probably a couple of them in here as well. But there are particular reasons why I don't use some of these kits, like this one. Number one, it's too big. This one's my main kit, and because of its size. And I took the trouble to look and see what the most common kits, or what the current kits are right now. And I'm going to go ahead and put a picture of them up here, somewhere in this area, of basically the two kits that I see from lab, from a common distributor who has a website that you can go check it if you're a vendor through them. And it's the wedge and the flat version, which is kind of like this, but it's laid out different. The difference in the kits, the 3 main kits that they sell through the lab now, is nickel silver bottom pins. Of course, the bottom pins in any lock catches the most wear. And in some of these are still nickel silver too up here. That kit's a little bit more expensive because nickel silver pins are expensive. I always would recommend, if you want to, and I'm obviously going against what I'm saying here, nickel silver pins, yes, they're great. I just don't like when you do this, all right, and it drops into the next chamber. In fact, I don't like this chamber system either. I like the top pin part of it, but I don't like how these are. So that works, but this and this and this and this and this and this, these are the same color. Same problem with these kits over here is we have the whole bottom row is bottom pins, and then you have the top going up to the furthest. So that's great, but yes, when you start ordering these kind of pins, these IC Core Lab pins, same theory with nickel silver. Once you mix up this to this, and then they're both nickel silver, it's hard to tell them apart. Which brings us to tweezers. Now, I've got a lot of different tweezers, and I just noticed I got this Grobit pair of tweezers, and it's very badly machined. I don't know if you can see that. I might contact Grobit about that, because I've never even used these, and it's just that's bad. Anytime I'm tweezering anything, I prefer regular tweezers. Not even so we're going to take, here's a lab version, here's one that everybody should know, Sparrows. The difference between fine tip tweezers and this really comes down to being able to hold master pins, thin master pins like this. Like, number one, while I'm doing it with this pair of tweezers, I can't even okay, there I go. I got it on the edge, right? Now, if I wanted to put it in something, like I have to come in from the side, kind of like that, and it drops in. So when you have a fine tip, and don't even get me started on something like this. It's the Grobit. There's another brand. I don't know whose this is, but it doesn't have much of a pin thing in there. They're just way too wide. So if you're trying to deal with one of these, look, I just picked up 2. I was trying to pick up 1. Like, there's literally no way in conventional cylinders or SFIC to push that down. So my preferred is a pointy tweezer, because I can grab pins easier. So that's 2. That's all. This end pin. Let's go back to that. So now I got 1, and I drop it in. Plus, you can fish into stuff like and kind of push it down, so that's not going down. I'll be like, okay, you can do this. And yes, you're gonna say, Jason, there's tools for that. Well, there is, but that means I had to put down my tweezers, reach in here and pick up my tool and do that. So that's why I use regular tweezers for this. Another thing that's good to have when you're doing, ooh, I just lost 2 pins. No, get back in number 4. Is, yes, the lab counter. The lab send us the correct number of pins. Small containers. So if you have some mixed up pins and you want to get rid of them, you can put them in here and then resort them later. not used pins. I never reused used pins. Of course, this is my counter. We're not gonna count any right now. But another good thing is these measuring spoon sets. Measuring spoons are actually great. Most of the time, you got to order it as a whole set, and only 3 or 4 of them are going to be good. But you can usually get these at dollar stores or whatever. But the half teaspoon, the dash, and the 1/4 teaspoon. You see how it's got that rectangular shape, and then these are round. Different shapes for different purposes. If I was going to be pulling, let's say I wanted to pull these 3A pins over here. This is why I can't trust this kit. I can't trust this kit because I don't know who did what here, if these are all indeed 3 top pins or if they're a mixture of different pins. So in that case, with this kit cleaning up, I'm gonna go with this first, and then we're gonna grab another little thing. You can find hobby stores have these little plastic containers if you're doing it all at once. If I was doing this with in the intent, look at that, we got all kind of mixes in here, with the intent of doing it here and now and finishing the job, then I would just have several of these open, and if I was going to have to come back to it, I would use the ones with the top. So that made quick work of that. Saved a lot of finger issues too. And of course you can bring these in, sort them out now with your pointed tweezers because anything else sucks. And we can figure out what's what. It looks like we may have nickel silver bottom pins mixed in. We got a definite bigger pin there. We've got some caps mixed in here, looks like, because that's right above it. So we're going to presume it's caps. So yeah, state of the pinning kit. Somebody's coming in. One more, missed it. Right there. Now we have to determine whether those silver ones are indeed the same size and pick out the ones that are not. That's not. That's not. I'm going to go ahead and put these back in here in case you think you missed a part of the video, because I don't have time to mess with this kit right now. I'm just using it for demonstration purposes. The gist of the story, the moral of the story is a lot of these are considered institutional kits. Especially institutions who buy into a key system. A lot of times these manufacturers are like, hey, if you buy or if you outfit your hospital or whatever with Falcon locks, we'll give you a keying kit and you can key up your own locks. And usually they get thrown under a shelf, mixed around. Apprentices come through and screw around with it, don't know what to do with it, and eventually it lands on your desk. The difference with institutional kits, which is what this is, what this is the depth of the pocket. On Saturday Morning Live, I mentioned this one has shallow pockets for the smaller, but really deep in the middle here. So they're really deep so they can hold more pins, and if we could probably dump at least 500 or more in each of these pockets. This one, it's not as deep for sure, especially with the master pins, but it will hold about 200 or so of the thinner versions. This is just my favorite kit because even though it doesn't have room for one of these, this is the Falcon version, or this, it takes up less room on the counter, which is a premium compared to one of these. The Woody kits are I always feel like they're kind of worrisome with the lid just floating like that. Whereas, you know, you have more of a rigid with a piano style hinge. You've got these wood hinges. At any given time, I feel like this could, like, for some reason, pull it back. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm not fond of using this particular kit. And in the institutional setting, you may have use for all these extra pockets. Another thing, we have blocking pins. So we have parts. Parts usually come with dedicated kits. In the quickset world, it would come with clips, possibly double cylinder, single cylinder tail pieces, and tools, whereas these kits may not come with that, and you have to kind of fill it in on your own. Hey.
Hey, my name is, I didn't mean to disturb you. My name is Ernest. I'm just in the area passing out insurance cards for anyone.
I love getting interrupted doing something by a solicitor. This guy would have been the most newest kit. This is kind of how they look now. And you can see I very rarely use it. But we have this. So that goes this way. Doop. Top pin, let's see. Yeah. Okay, so this one's split into two, that's right. So you have the A3 and then A4. Back in your cardboard sleeve and plastic wrap you go. One day, we might have to use you again. And we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye to these kits because I don't need them for this project. I am going to just top off a couple of these completely missing ones from the other kit and then seal it up so that it's good. Probably, I don't know yet. And then they're just gonna go back under the counter in case I have to get out the caps. Because this one doesn't have those. I could easily move them over here, but because I do have two spots. I did try sticking them in there and they didn't fit. The 7 pins didn't fit real well. So that's kind of one of the downfalls of this. I could easily keep them in here too, I guess. You know, but I'm gonna refill some of these chambers from some of here because this really stays this never gets open. It's just too big and too awkward to use for me anyway. That's too many empty pockets. I don't need all those empty pockets. So I have to actually go do work, and so I gotta close up all these and get them off the front counter so nobody messes with them. We'll be back. While I'm closing these up, it made me realize another thing about Woody kits is these have a little bit of leeway in them, you know, with how they're designed. With the Woody kits, there's too many wedges and too many platforms on these Woody kits. Here, I'll show you on this other one, so I don't have to move that. All right, so if you open this up, see all these flat wood platforms where a pin can come out and do this. So like, and you got to close it. And look, it doesn't close all the way, and then you're like, do this, and then it bites into the wood above it. So that's one reason why I don't really like Woodies on using them. Same thing with those. Okay, looks good enough for now. We have some pins that I got to put up, obviously back in stock there, but we are good for the moment with this pinning kit. And that goes back to be used to refill stuff later.